Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca. Grab that great Calgary swag. Some new stuff coming out very, very soon. We got some breaking news to kick things off today, plus just a wild time in the sports world. So let's get into it. Some breaking news from Major League Baseball as the Philadelphia Phillies have relieved Rob Thomson of his duties, and Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball, is back in an interim capacity as a manager. Not an overly surprising move, but still one that is going to cause some shockwaves for sure. Let's talk about it. So yes, the Philadelphia Phillies making a move today. Rob Thomson is out, Don Mattingly is in. And when you see the spot that the Phillies are in right now, this is not an overly surprising one, right? Like the team currently sitting in the bottom or close to the bottom in the NL East. They are technically, I guess, last. A minus 54 run differential, which, just doing a quick scan here, is definitely the worst in the National League and is the worst in Major League Baseball. And it's not overly close, actually. 9-19, already 10.5 games out of first place in the division in the National League East. This has been a disaster start for the Phillies. And, I mean, there was a lot of talk about where the Mets were at, but you look now that the Mets actually won a game, a lot of the focus goes to this Phillies ball club. And runs, they're 28th in Major League Baseball. Runs against, they're 28th. They're not hitting home runs, they're at 17th in that, and they have the 29th best OPS in MLB. And I think what you start to wonder with this group is, did they wait a year too long? And when you have a team that can be getting close to a World Series championship, I think it's fine to wait a year too long. I think that is perfectly acceptable to do, but we talked about it in the offseason. Like, okay, you brought Schwarber back. All right, you made a couple of moves here. Where's better coming from? Is it Brad Keller in the bullpen? I mean, they haven't really needed the closer all that much, given, what has happened there. And he's been okay, but their bullpen has not been strong. The starting staff, which has been a strength of this team for a really long time, has regressed. Like, Aaron Nola is getting hit. Zach Wheeler is not the same dominant guy he was a couple of years ago. Christopher Sanchez, who has worked his way into being one of the better ones in baseball, is having a good year, but there's only so much of that you can overcome. And then you look at the lineup, like Trey Turner is batting leadoff with a 304 on base percentage. Kyle Schwarber's hitting 196. Now, 9 nukes, but hitting 196, and those home runs are great, but when the guy in front of you isn't getting on, what's that doing? They, right now in their starting lineup, have no one hitting over 300. The closest is Brandon Marsh at 297. Like, just nothing is going well on this team. So a shakeup, I think, was inevitable, in my opinion. They have a lot of platoon guys that they can try to kind of work with, but it's an aging group. And it feels like maybe it's a done group now. When you see, like, Trey Turner's 32 years old, Schwarber's 33, Harper's 33. They brought in Garcia, he's 33. Brandon Marsh, 28. That's kind of like Alex Baum's 29. You do have Justin Crawford at 22 years old, but I mean, the dude's your number 8 hitter and a platoon catcher, platoon center fielder right now. So there's a lot of age on this team, and when you see, like, the Braves are on the trajectory that they are on, and, like, we think the Mets might be getting a little bit better, and the rest of the National League, like the Dodgers, aren't going anywhere, it does kind of feel like things have passed them by, and it's time for a switch in Philly. Now, can you get value out of some of these guys in a trade? Probably, based on name value and things like that. But it does feel like the start of maybe a bigger switch here. And I wonder if that is why we don't get the Cora news today. Because that's what I talked about it on the radio out here in Calgary. That dude is a good enough manager that other managers get fired, so this guy gets hired. And when I saw the alert, I didn't see the Donnie Baseball part first. I just saw Phillies making the manager change with Rob Thomson. I thought, okay, this is the Cora move. This was it. Off to Philadelphia he goes. And maybe that could still be the case, but I wonder if they're trying to see what direction they are going in. And I mean, like, Cora, I know it hasn't gone well in Boston this year, or didn't go well in Boston this year. I think he is a difference maker, and I think that is a very, very good manager that's out there. And so when you get a chance to get a good manager, you do it. So I don't think that you just hold off like, well, we'll see. Maybe we're in a rebuild, so we don't want to get one of the best managers in baseball and waste him there. Maybe he's waiting to see how that situation plays out because he can kind of call his shot. I think there's going to be a Houston job opening up. I think there's going to be a Mets job opening up here pretty soon, as it feels like he was the first domino, Cora being the first domino to really fall in this whole thing. So it does kind of give you a bit of a, feels like some big changes are coming here right now. But for Don Mattingly, another chance at a managerial position. That obviously wasn't going to be there with the Blue Jays, with John Schneider getting an extension after a run to the World Series. So now he gets another chance. I don't think he was great as a hitting coach with the Jays. It does feel like he had a pretty good relationship with a lot of the guys in the Jays locker room, but I don't think Toronto's sluggish start is because of anything not involving Don Mattingly. It felt like the less power he got in Toronto, the better things went. So I don't know if this is going to be the thing that fixes it. Right now, you just need your best players to play. And like no one is playing up to their baseball reference page right now. So we'll see if the Phillies can get this thing back on track. I don't think they will. I think we could see a bit of a fire sale here from the Phillies. It feels done. It really does. And they got really close a couple of times, but it's I don't even want to say it's a what could have been, because I don't know if they missed a whole lot of opportunities. They just ran into a juggernaut. Like there were some really good teams when the Braves were winning division titles and going to World Series and stuff like that just weren't able to crack through. This is going to be probably the reputation of this Phillies team. Fun as hell to watch, but didn't get over the hump in the way that they would have wanted to. So where are you guys at? Am I being too harsh on the Phillies? Am I not being harsh enough on Philadelphia? Let me know in the comments, and we can keep the conversation going there. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube and want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, check out the podcast. Search Couch Potato Diary on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. The National Football League draft is now behind us. No surprise at one, plenty of surprises after that. Let's break down a wild draft weekend from the NFL. So yes, no one was surprised that Fernando Mendoza goes 1 to the Vegas Raiders. This was always going to be the move, and I have been critical, and look, I mean, did a Raider themed podcast on here for a little bit, so I am a Raider fan, coming from that perspective here. At the start of the process and throughout a lot of different times, I was thinking, man, I feel like a trade might be better. I don't think this team's a quarterback away. I think you have a lot of holes that you need to fill, so do that instead. Do the Chicago Bryce Young trade, and maybe you get your Caleb Williams next year. But then the Raiders went out and spent a ton of money in free agency. They really bolstered this roster, and you watch Mendoza in the national championship game, and he's undeniable. And even if he is the second, third best player in this draft, at the quarterback spot, you'll take that. They don't need another running back in Jeremiah Love, and the guy who a lot of other people thought was the best player in this draft talent-wise was Arvell Reese, and he goes 5. So, maybe you could have moved down and got a little bit and still got that dude, but you get the quarterback now. I feel pretty good about him being the quarterback of the future for the Vegas Raiders, and feeling like this is something that they haven't had in a really, really long time. And he's going to have everything around him to succeed, right? Like, you have an offensive-minded head coach. You have Tom Brady in the building. Kirk Cousins, who your mileage may vary on him as a player, but I mean, he has been around it, and he has been the young guy who was drafted. Now, he didn't have the first-round pedigree. That was RG3 in that draft, but he was a rookie who came in and had some expectations thrust upon him. So Mendoza is going to have a lot around him to be able to succeed. They are lacking some weapons in the wide receiver room, but you have a high-level tight end. You have a very solid running back that can be unlocked. You just brought in Linderbaum at center that can help guide him along as well. So I think they have done a very good job of putting weapons in place, maybe not weapons in place, but putting things in place around Mendoza to allow him to be that guy going forward. The competitiveness is high level. He can make all the throws that you want to see him make. He's not going to win any rushing titles or anything like that, but you saw in the title game against Miami, there are times he just won't be denied, and he'll run if he has to. I think this is a solid one. I don't know if we're going to be looking back on this in 2 years or even 365 days from now and saying, oh, wow, the Raiders, the playoff run started here. It's a tough division that they are in, and they're in a tough spot, and I do still think there's a ways to go. But this is, from a Raider fan standpoint, this is the most confident I have felt about this team in a really long time. Things really get moving at 3 in this draft. David Bailey to the Jets, we had heard that for a while, right? It was between Bailey and Arvell Reese. It is funny that we just went through a playoffs where all the linebackers on all the playoff teams were like 3rd, 4th round picks or undrafted free agents, and now, well, competing for a couple, but both of them are edge rushers, right? Like they, I'm going off of Wikipedia to be fair, and they both have, they're both listed as linebackers. I don't know how many snaps they're going to be taking as linebackers. These are pass rush guys, edge rush guys. And so like Bailey to the Jets, that one makes sense. They need some pressure on the quarterback to try to help force some of those interceptions that they were lacking last season. So that one, I know some people were clowning on the Jets draft. I don't mind what they did. When you look at getting Bailey, again, if they view Bailey as better than Reese, not a lot of people did, but they do. If you flip-flop Bailey and Reese, I don't think anyone's lighting the world on fire around this or anything like that. And then further down in the draft, they use the pick that they got in the Sauce Gardner trade for Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. He was by far and away the best tight end in this draft, according to all the experts. Maybe it feels like a bit of a reach to go tight end there when you do have some other needs on this team, like a Mekhi Lemon or something like that. But you get the best player at his position, which is a position of need, I think, for this team in the draft. Mason Taylor just gone from a fantasy standpoint, and we'll talk about that later this week. But I don't mind that one as much. I don't think it was the wrong answer. I just maybe it wasn't as right as some of the other answers were. And then the other one, they trade into the first round again to get Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana. From a Raider fan standpoint, I was kind of hoping, because you saw a lot of mocks where he would fall to the second round. I was kind of hoping he would fall to the Raiders, and they could kind of just get the band back together. Dude's solid. Like, I was going to say a stud. He's not that, but strong hands, like good contested catch guy. Like I think he's going to be fine here at the next level, and a pretty good number 2 to Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets. So I'm not clowning on the Jets draft as much as some other people were. I will clown on the Cardinals though, going Jeremiah Love at 3. And you can make all your jokes that the Cardinals saw what the Raiders did, drafting a running back and then getting the first overall pick next year, because that's obviously where the focus is here for Arizona. But this is the exact type of pick bad organizations make. You don't need a running back to get past the finish line. Frustrating for fantasy owners, but they were actually able to piece together a decent running back room last season with Arizona. Like, not blow away or anything like that. We're not comparing DeMarcano to Saquon Barkley, but you were able to kind of piece it a little bit together. I get, okay, Brissett or whoever is going to be quarterback for this team this year, and then hopefully you get a better one for the coming out of the draft next year. You give him a weapon already in Jeremiah Love, who's a very solid pass catcher, as well as a pretty good running back. But this feels like a waste of a pick to me. When you have so many other positions that you need to improve, to go out and get the luxury at 3 doesn't make any sense to me at all. I hate this one from Arizona. If you're going to do that, like if it is Jeremiah Love or bust, then trade out of that spot. There's no way you couldn't have got something for that number 3 pick, given Arvell Reese is still on the board and everything like that. So I hate this strategy here from the Arizona Cardinals. At 4, the Titans going Carnell Tate surprised a lot of people. In hindsight, I don't know if it should have. It does seem like Love and Tate here at 3 and 4 sent the whole draft into a spiral, right? Like after that, it was like, all right, we're cruising now. This is going to be great. Tate, I think, has that number 1 wide receiver potential, and Tennessee doesn't have guys like that right now, right? Like A.O. Manor is fine, DK is fine, but they're better as 2-3s. Tate allows everyone in this offense to kind of slot in, and the addition of Wan'Dale Robinson as well. So now you have A.O. Manor as a 3, and you have DK as a 4. Okay, yeah, now we got a receiver room for our young quarterback and helping to support him, and a fine running back room. So I like this one here for Tennessee. It was a little too early to go offensive line, which is something I do still think they need a bit of help on, even though they have invested quite a bit of resources into it. They just haven't clicked in the way that you would want them to. I like this one here for them. Arvell Reese, we're not going to go pick by pick here, but Arvell Reese to the Giants at 5, you have to love that if you're the New York Giants. Like, to get a player that a lot of people had at the top of their board at number 5, and to really solidify your defense now, you just traded away Dexter Lawrence. Now you get to replace him with Arvell Reese. Makes all the sense in the world. Love this one for the New York Giants. And then later on in the draft, getting Francis Mauigoa, from Miami. They're good. Like, he is a tackle, going to move to guard, but they need some help on the interior, running the ball. They're going to be a smash mouth team, I think, with Cam Scadaboo running the football, protecting Jackson Dart up the middle, and allowing him to get some of that time and space that he's going to need to produce. I like this one a lot. I like this draft for the Jets a lot. And now, yes, it does look a little bit like a draft that went wrong a little bit ago when they drafted Evan Neal, but this one, I think this one's going to be very good for the New York Giants. Kansas City trading up to get Mansour Delane out of LSU is scary. I saw some people clowning on the Browns. I don't mind this one for Cleveland. I know they don't get a haul or anything like that, but they still get the number 1 tackle on the board, and they're able to get a couple of extra resources. I like this for them quite a bit. For Kansas City, I still think that they need a bit more of an investment on the offensive side of the football, even with Patrick Mahomes potentially coming back at some point this season. Who knows what he is going to be or anything there. But Kat's down here sharing her thoughts on it. She thought they should have gone wide receiver maybe. But once Tate comes off the board at 4, the defensive side makes sense. You've just traded McDuffie away, and now you're getting a cheaper, more controlled version, potentially. A lot of people like Delane coming out of LSU. I think this one really, really works for Kansas City. That's a really, really solid pick. Going down the board a little bit further, I don't like giving the Cowboys a lot of credit, but getting Caleb Downs here, love this move for them. Being able to, like, some people think he could be a green dot guy, so the captain from the safety position. Getting that type of a guy, maybe he's not Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, anything like that, but you are starting to see how defenses are able to be transformed a little bit when you have that solid safety in the back there. And having Downs in that spot, I think really does work for the Cowboys and greatly helps improve a defense that needs some great improvement, that is for sure. The big surprise, obviously, Ty Simpson, quarterback for Alabama, going to the Rams at 13. This is going to be the highest the Rams are going to be picking in a while. They get a gift from Atlanta with that number 1 pick. So there was some thought, like, okay, like, really load this thing up. I understand that this next phrase can be, like, the best laid plans can always go awry. I do think that this roster is pretty complete already. And so, yes, like, would you like to build up some depth in places? Fine. I think building up the depth at quarterback makes sense. And now there's no pressure on the kid. One of the big knocks on him is inexperience. He's not going to start for a little bit. And this is where you almost wish they had a deal with the UFL or the Canadian Football League, or like the CFL has with U Sports up here, where they can just go back to college for another year. Because you wish that he could get more reps, and you wish that he could get more playing time, because we've seen, like, yes, it worked great. We all love to reference Patrick Mahomes sat for a year under Alex Smith, don't you know? And well, Aaron Rodgers, he overdeveloped under Brett Favre, so he was ready to just hit the ground running once he started playing. There's a reason the references for that are like 20 and 5 or 7 years old. Doesn't happen all that great. Ask J.J. McCarthy how awesome that was last year. That, well, he just got to go in and have a VR meeting with KOC every week. Okay, you still need to be good. And the jury is still out on Ty Simpson, but there is not a better landing spot to try to learn and develop than under the learning tree of Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Like, that is quarterback U 101. That is the prestigious place to go to. Absolutely love that for them there. Reuben Bain Jr. going to the Buccaneers at 15. There's a lot of conversation about arm length and everything like that. This guy, you see how motivated he was, like just how pissed off he was, grabbing the hat from the mirror and walking out to Roger Goodell. This feels like a guy who's going to have a vendetta against the entire rest of the NFL, and I think he could be a terrifying addition to a Bucs defense that did need a bit of bolstering after some things had kind of fallen down a little bit. Him and a Todd Bowles defense, I think, is going to be a bit of a wrecker out there. Philadelphia with the move of the draft as they completely snipe Mekhi Lemon from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were on the phone thinking they were getting the kid. And then Lemon, they come over the top, make the trade, and yeah, we're taking him now. I think this makes Philadelphia, obviously it makes A.J. Brown more expendable than he was already. Mekhi Lemon, there has been a lot of discussion around him. I don't see what people don't see in this guy. I know he's weird as hell, but I think this guy could be an absolute stud coming out of this draft. Like, I do think we could be looking at this in a couple of years and saying he's the best receiver coming out of this draft. I really do think that with the talents and everything that he has. Now, Eagles getting him at 20, whatever they're going to be able to get for A.J. Brown, the roster thing, making it so you can't do this move until June 1st, sucks a little bit because Philadelphia is going to want something this year for it, right? Like, they want to do the Dexter Lawrence thing where we want the pieces now. But you do kind of get the piece now with Mekhi Lemon and then be able to bolster up with whatever probably New England is going to get you, because it feels like the reporting on that is coming from a pretty solid source now. So I like this move a ton for the Eagles. Just going through some of the rest of them. Casey Concepcion as wide receiver 2 for the Browns. I like that move for them after getting Fano up at the top of the draft. I still think it should be Shedeur Sanders. I know I'm getting alone on that island. I, for the life of me, don't know how you can look at the last couple of years of Deshaun Watson and think, no, let's give that another try. I think Shedeur showed enough to try to get things going, and getting a weapon for him or Deshaun works there with Concepcion, and I think that's a interesting guy in kick return as well, which is becoming a bigger part of the NFL landscape. And then we talked about Omar Cooper Jr. already. Peter Woods, defensive tackle, going to the Chiefs. So really working on the defensive side of the football, and you can see they are kind of aging in that position as well. The one that is a bit of a sneaky, like, oh boy. I think the one that is that overall is Lemon to the Eagles. It's another one where it's like, how do we keep letting one of the best players in the draft just fall to the Eagles? Like, do they just get a different board than everyone else? Like, what? But the other one is Jadarian Price, to the Seattle Seahawks. He was Jeremiah Love's backup at Notre Dame, but dude can ball. And having him in a timeshare with Charbonnet, I think fantasy owners are going to want to look at that one. And I think Seattle, like, they didn't rush out and replace Kenneth Walker Jr. Kenneth Walker III. They were patient, locked this one in here. I think it's a great move for Seattle. I like this addition a lot for the Seahawks coming out of that first round. So just some thoughts on what we had at the NFL draft. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how some of these kind of play out and now gear towards what is expected to be a better draft coming up next season. We'll have more on the draft throughout the week. Going to be looking at, or I say throughout the week and then I get busy. And this is a busy week. So likely next week, I guess I should say, we're going to have more on the draft, looking at it from a fantasy football impact standpoint, and things of that nature. So that's kind of what we're lking at here. But where are you guys at? I can't imagine everyone agrees with all of my takes on the draft. So let me know in the comments, what did you agree with? What did you disagree with? Give me your winners and losers of this thing as well. And we can have that conversation over in the comments. Also, if you wanted to share this video, that would be a huge help as we grow Couch Potato Diary. The podcast, over 1,000 episodes. YouTube channel, over 2,000 episodes. We're really trying to grow this thing. I love the content that we've been putting out here over the last little while. Just need more of y'all to see it. So if you can hit that share button and keep the conversation going with some of your football fan friends, that would be a huge help for us here. That's going to do it for Couch Potato Diary today. There is a little bit more going on in the sports world, obviously, but your boy's got a radio gig coming up here in about an hour, so I got to get running. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca and grab all of that great Calgary swag. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein. If you're watching, hit like and subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time right here on Couch Potato Diary.